Hillary Clinton was losing, and I asked him why, and his explanation, well, a little flip, had some great political insight. He said, with one vote, you can eliminate 400 years of guilt with that vote. I mean, so I think there is a sense there that there are some white people who are voting for him, and there's a generational difference. You can see younger voters are far more inclined to his candidacy, and perhaps the race thing is more generational.
And is it not correct to say, David, that from day one, from the moment that Barack Obama announced that he was going to run for president, he didn't want to talk about race and said he didn't want to be known as the black candidate and went out of his way to avoid it. But now it's there.
Right. Well, for really a year, we had discussions about health care, about NAFTA, about Iraq. And for most of the primary season, the debate was not on this. But now we're getting into a tougher part of the season as the two candidates really wail at each other, and the racial issue has come up. And it strikes me that when so many people have so many varied perspectives on this, I think most white people in this country think it won't be an issue or will be maybe a slight plus for them, and I happen to think that. But I notice a lot of my African-American friends think, you guys are crazy. It's going to be a big negative. And they say that with complete confidence. I say my view with complete confidence. It strikes me we do it from our different perspectives and our different sorts of life experiences. There are two radically different perspectives on how it's going to play out. And in some senses, Obama's race will be a test. His campaign will be a test of how big a factor race does play in American politics.
Is it correct to say, Mark, quickly, that you don't think it's going to go away? It's there, and it's going to stay there until this thing is resolved?
Well, it is there, Jim, and we saw it just this week in Mississippi, and I think David's point is well taken. 1 out of 4 of the voters, the white voters who voted for Hillary Clinton, said they would not vote for Barack Obama in November if he were the nominee. Barack Obama got 91% of the African-American vote. So it's there, it's a reality, and the question is who is right? Are the African-Americans, David knows, David and the white voters? I happen to lean in David's direction. I think on balance it will be a plus.
Quick, let's go through a couple things here quickly, beginning with you, Mark, on this issue of Michigan, Florida. Is that going to be resolved, or is this going to get worse before it gets better?
I think it's going to get worse, Jim. I mean, Florida obviously is not going to be resolved. You know, we had 55 jurisdictions who agreed to the rules that there would be no contests other than Nevada and South Carolina, Iowa, and New Hampshire. 4 states where retail politics is available, where an underdog, underfinanced candidate can compete against a front runner with deep pockets. And all but 2 of them abided by those rules and didn't go before the 5th of February. I think it's absolutely indefensible to say to Florida and Michigan, you broke the rules, now you're going to have a decisive voice in who the nominee is. Split the difference, cut their delegation in half, let their superdelegates vote. Senator Clinton will have an advantage among the superdelegates in both states, and let them come to Denver and go to the parties.
David, do you see any developments?
Well, I think it's pretty clear Michigan seems likely to revote, and I suspect Florida will revote. There are a lot of big states. People want to have their voices heard. I don't think it'll make any difference. The fact is, when we get to at the end of the primary process, Barack Obama will have more votes nationally, and he will have more delegates. Hillary Clinton's shot is to somehow bring him down enough so in the national polls, she's leading him by 5, 10 points. And we already saw one poll today, the Wall Street Journal NBC poll, which had her up nationally. And right now, they're basically tied. And I think the only way she can get the nomination is for all the superdelegates to look at the national polls, sort of ignore the whole primary season, and say, she's ahead, she's stronger, we better go to her. I think it's a slim shot, but it's really her only shot. So she's really got to change the emotional climate of the country more than relying on the results of any primary.
Okay, David is right, Jim, and I think if she wins North Carolina and Kentucky and Oregon and Pennsylvania and Indiana, all these states, then she does have a shot. I just point out that Wall Street Journal poll, she was 16 points ahead the last time they took it, and I think she was just that had fallen just a handful of points, single digits now. But I think that's her only available. But my problem is if you give both Florida and Michigan special status now, that's just going to be an incentive for states in 2012 to just ignore the rules and say, okay, we'll hold our primary in August or July. And, I don't know how you sanction these places unless you tell them they're going to lose half their delegations.
Well, the bad news is we have no more time to talk about these other things, and I was going to ask you all about Elliot Spitzer. Now, NewsHour viewers will not know what you think about that. I was going to ask you about the resignation of Admiral Fallon. NewsHour viewers will not know about that. So they're just going to have to imagine what you all would say.
We'll blog it for you.
Okay. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
But speaking of Elliot Spitzer, finally tonight, essayist Ann Taylor Fleming on the very public image of the wronged wife.
That face, you couldn't take your eyes away from it, even though you half wanted to, because it felt almost wrong to look, invasive. You wanted to look at him, not her, the miscreant confessing his misdeeds, not the woman standing beside him. But you couldn't. It was her face that told the tale. It didn't matter what he said. It was, in a sense, redundant. All you needed to do was look at that face. True, we've seen others at similar moments. The faces of the wives of New Jersey Governor James McGreevey, of Idaho Senator Larry Craig, and, of course, of the former President of the United States, Bill Clinton. Generally, what we have seen is a mask of shocked stoicism, which is why the face of Silda Wall Spitzer was so arresting in its pain.
The Honorable Elliot Spitzer, accompanied
And then to remember it in easier, happier times, the face of a grown, accomplished woman, a Harvard-educated corporate lawyer, the mother of 3 girls, the wife of the governor. It is a strong face, and yet sometimes, at moments with him, at his inauguration, on vacation, a girlish, smiling face, younger than its years, fun in it, loveliness. Hard to decide right now which face is more haunting, the lovely before one or the new after one. The blogs and the pundits and the late-night talk show hosts had at it again, poking and winking and opining. It was a week-long news cycle, sustained by more tawdry revelations, more psychobabblers offering up insight into the deviant arrogance of the straying Paul, particularly one as morally self-righteous as Elliot Spitzer. Why, they asked, would such a man do this, risking everything, losing everything? Why, in turn, would a woman put up with it, standing there beside him in a moment one can only imagine of utmost humiliation?
Good afternoon.
On and on it went, answers abounding, none of them coming close to what that face said. What we needed was a Shakespeare or Sophocles, not a Bill O'Reilly or a Keith Olbermann. Elliot Spitzer is now gone from political life, presumably forever. What happens to his marriage now, the rage and the reckoning and the tears, will be off stage. None of us know what will happen. The husband and wife probably don't know either at this point. Surprises loom. Marriages survive awful injuries. Not to relegate Silda Wall Spitzer to the victim role either. That would be simple-minded, reductive, and patronizing. We don't know her. We don't know her resilience or her strength or her longings. But she has left us this week with an indelible image of a sorrow beyond words. I'm Ann Taylor Fleming.
And again, the major developments of this day. J.P. Morgan Chase and the Federal Reserve had to bail out the investment bank Bear Stearns. The announcement shook the stock market. President Bush acknowledged uncertain times, but he talked up prospects for recovery, and House Democrats narrowly pushed through a terror surveillance bill. Washington Week can be seen later this evening on most PBS stations. We'll see you online and again here Monday evening. Have a nice weekend. I'm Jim Lehrer. Thank you and good night.
Major funding for the News Hour with Jim Lehrer is provided by...
We are explorers. Humans are. Today there is a new frontier to explore. Energy. We're trying to find it in ways once unimaginable, mapping uncharted territory 5 miles below the sea, long before a single mark is ever put in the ground. So we drill more intelligently, more respectfully. to power the new explorers. This is the power of human energy.
The new AT&T. Pacific Life.
The William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, working to solve social and environmental problems at home and around the world.
And with the ongoing support of these institutions and foundations. And
this program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.